You need to nurture yourself as much as your marriage because a healthy relationship requires healthy partners. And that's anonymous.
Anonymous, always coming through.
And I would even go further to say, if not more than, like it says, you need to nurture yourself as much as, if not more than, your marriage. Yeah. I think individually nurturing yourself is, I mean, how can you show up to any situation when your glass is, I'm just going to use that analogy, your glass is half empty versus taking time, intentional time for self-care to fill your glass, whatever that looks like for you and how you achieve that, and then showing up to situations like marriage. That is a whole kind of situation.
You're just coming out of the gate swinging, aren't you?
I am.
This is supposed to be an intro. Goodness. I'm just going to leave.
I'm ready.
I'm just going to leave her to do her thing.
Bye, Felicia.
Let me know when you're done. I'll hit end on the record. Anywho. No, that's great. She just gave a quick summary of what we're going to dive into on episode 12 of Finding Us the Podcast. We are continuing on with, actually, is this our last one? Do we have two more? What do we got?
I don't know.
We have one more. We have one more after this one.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
So we got two more left.
Finally.
To complete the Story of Us album.
Oh my gosh.
Where we dive into every song and the topics are around those.
What are we going to do after we're done?
Oh, we're just going to do whatever we want.
It's going to be so fun.
Throw a coin. You know, I'm just kidding. So yeah, that's what's coming up.
Select your topics
from the ground up, my
fishbowl.
side of the fence. Coming up here on Finding Us Podcast. And we're back here on Finding Us the Podcast.
Yo.
Thank you guys for being here. Let's do a little life updates.
Sweet.
Do we have any life updates since the last time we did the podcast a couple weeks ago?
You know, we're boring. Same old, same old.
You know.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I'm taking steps personally in my getting closer to those final steps with my degree. And goodness gracious.
Yeah, what the heck? You've had a lot going on. I don't know if you've had nothing going on.
I know.
Trying to get your, what, it's called internship? Trying to get an internship somewhere?
I don't like to talk about myself. But yes, I'm trying, I'm finding a place and in the interview process, and I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, this is great, because I'm like terrified at the same time. And that's what we're about on the show is authenticity, and it's real. I'm just filled with fear. I am hyperactive. I'm an overthinker, overanalyzer, which is not shocking to those who know me well.
No.
So yeah, I'm really just all up in my head. And yeah, that's all I want to say about it. It's both. It's both, which is what I've been learning is it can be really exciting and really fearful, and it can be both.
Yeah.
And it can be all the things.
I get it. I mean, you know, at some point, I mean, I can't imagine, like in the world of counseling, like to do internship, you basically, it's your first time to actually take in clients. Like as an intern, you take on clients. And that's terrifying.
Yep.
That's terrifying to me.
It's terrifying.
And so, yeah, I get it. I mean, I get why you'd have so much fear around that. Jumping in, and there's no other way to do it other than to do it. Like there's no in between.
Exactly.
It's just you just have to do it.
Can I just say just real quick?
Yeah.
We can read books all day. Like we can read all the books, and it's so helpful. Knowledge is wonderful. I actually was saying this to somebody last night, but it's nothing like doing it. It's nothing like being in the hot seat, I want to say, and like experiencing, walking through experience. Like it's just can't compare it. So anyways, so life updates. What about you?
Well, let's transition from that because we have been working hard on getting our Patreon page set up. If you don't know what Patreon is, that is a way that you guys can support us and B, while doing so, get a lot of really cool incentives. And it's a perfect way, like what we're all about is connecting with you guys and being vulnerable and talking about being real. And Patreon provides a really great avenue to be able to do that with you guys. You'll find a few different tiers on there. Things like we're going to have a monthly episode just for Patreons only, where The whole episode will be based around the questions that you, the patron, ask. Patron, I keep saying it wrong. Patron ask. So that's going to be really cool. There's a lot of stuff. We'll have one-on-one coaching things as on the top tiers. Mentorship. I don't want to call it coaching. Mentorship. No. Yes. That is for the people who, it could be a number of things.
Anybody.
It can be it can be anybody, but especially those who, are hearing the stuff we're talking about recovery, talking about personal growth, talking about personal health, emotional health, all those things. And you're just like, where do I start?
Yeah.
We have opened up to a select few to be able to take that on and take on some of you guys one-on-one or even as a married couple and be able to we have different ways of doing it where we can just have one-on-one conversations about it and take on things that you're personally going through, things that you're personally wanting to grow in, things that just whatever it is. We're really excited about that. So please check that out when it's out. It could be available by the time this podcast comes out or shortly after, but we'll keep you guys informed on that because there's a lot of other cool incentives involved in it.
Yes, there's a lot.
We also, I have submitted our album Serenity in Hymn, and that hymn is HYMN hymn, so it's a hymns album, but in a way that you've never heard before. And I'll keep getting into more details on that as we get closer. But that comes out on Good Friday, so we have a little bit of time.
Oh my gosh!
But when I say submitted, I mean I
can't wait.
Send it off for mastering, and then it's going to get submitted for, to be available everywhere. And that's going to be, we're really excited about that.
That is going to be so freaking cool.
Yeah, so
I can't wait.
I think that's all.
That's good.
I didn't think of really anything else.
Yeah.
So,
Let's do this. Let's talk about the song.
Okay, so we're just gonna jump right into the song today.
Let's do it.
This is a mashup. Actually, it's the only mashup on the album, I believe, right? Or
yeah.
No, we did Into the Unknown and Show Yourself.
Oh,
that's the
true.
only. We put those two together from Frozen 2. This is track 10, called From the Ground Up, My Side of the Fence.
I'll be a shelter through the wind and the rain. The grass is always greener, 'cause the sun shines when you smile. And when I'm holding you, the world makes sense on my side of the fence.
Two Dan and Shay songs.
Dan and Shay.
I mean, Dan and Shay, honestly, they're a band that every time they put anything out, it's hard for me not to cover it. Like, it's hard for me not to want to cover it, just because selfishly, I just want to sing it. Like, they're just songs that I just love to sing. Good. They're really great songs, and they have a lot of really cool messages behind a lot of their songs, and these two songs are no exception. And
Amen.
What's cool about them is they both have different meanings to them. But when I was listening to them, I realized you can put together different sections of it to make a whole different meaning from it. So I got a little creative there and took sections from each song to create its own kind of story, which we'll get into more in a minute. Fallon touched on early in the podcast. So yeah, these are Dan and Shay songs from the ground up, My Side of the Fence, two of my favorites. Knew we had to do them. So I always like to start off with how the song was created from a musical standpoint. And first it started off with, of course, sitting down and figuring out, ideas and mashups and all that stuff, which is what I just told you. And then that goes off to me and Josiah, who's in the band Disciple. He's helped me with a lot of arranging on this stuff, and we sit down together and we figure out how to we figure the arrangement out. Like, I usually take it and I kind of figure out what I want to do with it first, on when it comes to verses, when it comes to sections, and I can hear how it'll go a certain way, and then I go to him and I'm like, help me make this work. Actually, not help me make this work musically, because I don't have that musician brain the way he does, and a lot of really talented people out there do. And then he takes it instrumentally and he makes it go together, because we're talking, we got to figure out the key it's in, and then when you mash up stuff, like, the keys change, and so you guys figure out the right key for it to go into it best, and it's a whole thing. But so yeah, we did that with this one, and I was very happy with how it turned out. He also did the guitars on this track, which are beautiful. We filmed, we recorded this with Matt Arcaney, which we record all our stuff with. I think Fallon, you sang most of this one. I think we split the vocals up. I think the way I did vocal arranging on it was you sang the leads to From the Ground Up, I think mostly. And so anytime From the Ground Up was in the song, it's Fallon singing. And anytime it's My Side of the Fence, it was me. And so that worked out really well.
It did.
So I think that's that. And we shot the video in a random abandoned old barn that we just found
in the middle of nowhere.
Middle of the field, and got bit up pretty good. Worth it.
I was freaking out about ticks and spiders.
And also the barn, like this structure just felt like it was going to collapse at any minute.
At any second.
And every time the wind would blow, everything would start creaking, and you would just stop and look around. Like, it's happening. It's going to happen. Even though that thing has been in that state for probably 100 years, but it's or whatever it is.
Do you remember the holes in the ground? Mm-hmm. And so I was like picturing like a fox or some type of animal living underneath our feet.
It probably was.
I kept looking around like some animal's going to come up from underneath us and attack us.
The things we do for a cool video shoot.
I know, right?
You know?
It was worth it though. It looked really good.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite video. And this is probably my favorite song on this album, on the Story of Us. Personally, just because I love Dan Shay and I love the way this turned out. But we shot that with Gil, as we call him, shoots pretty much all of Anthem Lights videos and on our videos. The exception. I've showed a lot of my videos myself, but I can't shoot me and her at the same time.
Makes it kind of difficult.
Yeah, so Gil comes along and helps shoot that. So I think that's it for the creation of the song.
Story behind the song, yo.
Story behind the song.
What is it?
So the main reason we put the song together, throughout our recovery, and if you know our story, there's recovery started a few years ago. And one of the unhealthy things that we took into our marriage was an extreme codependency with each other. And so something that I hear in this song, at least in My Side of the Fence, is what I hear on talking about being on my side of the fence. And we hear this in counseling of learning how to, when you navigate a marriage, learning how to stay yourself, be yourself, which is staying on your side of the fence, your side of the street, and not crossing over into the other side, essentially. And being able to, but also being able to meet at the fence and be a team and be a marriage and be one at the same time, which is a really difficult thing to navigate.
It sure is.
And so that's been a massive work in progress for us throughout these years of recovery. And the biggest thing we've learned when it comes to our marriage, and this can apply for anyone in any sort of relationship, is we had to, as soon as we would stop, for me personally, as soon as I stop focusing or I stop doing my work on me, and I might shift the attention more to our marriage and just be focused on making my wife happy, just be focused on how to make marriage work and grow, things get worse usually. Things get harder. And the result of that is because I'm losing myself. Right. And I'm starting to get back into that codependent place where I just want to make my wife happy, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but you can't do that. What you put it, I think you said it earlier. What did you say around that?
Well, I'm thinking of like an illustration that would be really helpful.
Go.
Okay, so in your mind, or if you have a piece of paper or and a pencil or pen in front of you, draw this out, okay? 3 circles. So you see 3 circles, and draw the circles side by side, touching, not interlapping, not on top of one another, but circle left, circle center, circle right. So the idea here, circle on the left, let's say, is you. Circle on the right is whoever it is you're in relationship with. And the circle in the center is your coupleship. And so the idea is we are individuals in our own circles, and we have a choice to step in to the center circle together. And we can be in that coupleship. And yes, we for a period may leave, I'm doing air quotations, leave our own circle to come into the coupleship, or maybe even you leave one foot in your own circle and you step one foot into the center circle, which is the coupleship. Like, you don't ever lose yourself. This is my understanding. You don't ever lose your and of course this is societal, and, you know, cultural and what you believe, but you don't lose yourself. You don't lose your autonomy. And so coming into marriage for us, I know, because of our work that we've done, we both came in, and maybe even more so than me. It may not have really even be both, because I know you can go in and out, but I came into the coupleship like firmly planting my feet in the center circle. Like, there was no sense of self. I mean, and that I could spend hours talking about the details of what that looks like, which I'm not going to do, but essentially I've had to learn how to be an autonomous individual, and to move, you know, in and out of those circles, and to also, like, guys, I can't, whoever cannot control and make the other person step into that center circle with you, which is really, really hard. And so, you know, like I said, it's a choice. It's a choice to move into the circle and, you know, focus on coupleship, or to show up for one another, and however that looks in coupleship, hopefully that's healthy, and then to step back out, and be in your individual places, because the reality is, and I didn't know this, the reality is that no one can be in that center circle 24/7. And that was my expectation, is that because I didn't have a sense of self, my expectation was that, you know, my husband was going to fulfill my void. I call it my God void. But it's essentially that longing of, like, who am I? So I don't know if that is helpful.
No, that's
I don't
great.
know if that answers what your question.
That's definitely a great way to describe it. Because working hard on your own personal growth is as essential to building a life together that lasts as the marriage work itself.
Yes.
And that is the premise of these songs together, and why we put them together. The song will tell a story about what a life, you know, from the ground up, talks about a story of your life together, you know, from literally building life from the ground up.
Yep.
And you can't do that without being without working on yourself at the same time.
Yes.
And making that the most important piece, really,
Right.
Because you cannot give, as you've said, you cannot give love and intimacy to somebody if you can't give love and intimacy to yourself,
right.
essentially, if you're not doing your own work.
Right.
I mean, there's been times, and you know, in recovery, there's been times in our marriage where I realize that I'm losing myself, because I've just I'll put too much focus on, like, we're doing a lot of work on our marriage, which is great and very important, but I can't do that while ignoring my own
other
stuff
things,
and
right.
staying connected in my own way, and taking time with men and connecting with men in my program and doing my own work.
Right. And that comes down to balance and self-awareness, and I mean, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, and the codependency thing still is constantly a battle, of course, for us, you know. And then it's the battle of learning where the line is, you know.
Right.
I mean, we could go on for a lot of that. It's it's learning what that looks like in a healthy way.
Right.
Because on one end, it's like, you know, that you can of course be way too far on your side of the fence, and
absolutely,
and which can also will cause hurt,
which is isolating, and yes, and, like, you know, well, I'm narcissistic, and that's the word that I want to use, but I mean, it can be, because you can be so focused on yourself, you know, to an extreme, which comes back to the balance piece, that you're narcissistic and you're only thinking about yourself, and you're not thinking about how your behaviors and actions can impact other people. And so, you know, it's these extremes of, you know, being totally self-involved, and on the other side, totally, you don't have a sense of self, and you're looking to another person to fulfill that and to tell you who you are.
They will never fulfill that. That thing you're looking for, the thing that you think this person's going to give you.
No,
it will never be
never.
filled. It will always lead to unhappiness, and anger, and sadness.
And that's the big part about self-growth, is to find peace and to be truly, truly at peace with yourself, and to not, like, that's all internal. And that opens up a whole nother door. And yes, like, I know there are serious external factors, so I'm not saying to disregard those. But in the vein of existentialism, it's like to a degree, like, I have the ability to control myself and to create a state of inner peace, despite what is going on in my surroundings, despite what my spouse is doing, friends, other people. I mean, anything in the environment. Not to say that that isn't going to cause feelings and that it's not going to be hard. I am not saying that to minimize it, but I'm saying this because I am learning how to do that, and it's so very hard to get to that place of being fully at peace with myself.
Yeah, I'll speak more into that because that just rang a bell. I mean, often one of my big things, and one of our big things that we've been trying to work through on this is just as giving examples. It's very easy for me when my wife is angry at me, is triggered about something based off of the hurt that I have caused, or if she herself is just in a bad emotional state, terrible place or whatnot, and no emotions are bad, but anyways, I hear you, but you know what I mean. Emotions, you know what I'm saying. All emotions are good, but in just talking, communication, in
a toxic place.
I still call negative emotions, even though they're all good, but
yes, they just are.
Anywho, getting off to another subject there. But learning to not let that put me in the same emotional place has been a big learning curve for me. Is being like, if she is in a rough place and she just needs to talk to me and needs me to just listen, I'm learning to be able to do that, even if that hurt and anger and sadness is directed at actions I have done. Regardless, not letting myself go down a spiral of feeling shame over it, feeling anger, feeling the resentment, based around whatever it is that we could be disagreeing with, or, whatever her reality is versus mine, all the things, not letting myself go there, and let that bring me down to that place, is because that's what codependency does. Right. Codependency is, if she's in a bad place, I need to be in a bad place. And not only for that, but in the flip side of things, you learning that when I don't get as upset as you are, or as in a bad place as you are, like, being okay with that, because for a while it's like, why aren't you being like, you should be sad and angry that I'm sad and angry,
which is expectation.
And which is also another codependency. And so that's where we used to be. It's like, if one of us is sad and upset, then you need to be sad and upset as well. Like, and if you're not, like, what the heck?
That's so true.
And that's very much been a big learning curve for us, is learning how to not let that not to take you to the same place your spouse is, but also being okay with your spouse not going to the same place as you are.
Right. So that's called detaching.
It's called detaching.
Which I know.
Healthy detachment.
Right. Yes. Detaching in love, which we've talked about before, which can feel really mean, which it's not.
It can, but it's not. Yeah.
Right.
As long as, obviously, that doesn't mean you say, this isn't my problem, go talk to someone else.
Yeah,
because you still need to sit in it with your spouse. You need to hear them, be supportive. You don't try to fix it.
Right.
Of course, you do not try to give solutions, because that's the worst thing you can do. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that, like, you and my spouse will feel or whatnot that I can't empathize with. And I can try to fix it, but it just will make things worse because I'm not in her head. I'm not in her shoes. We're all completely individual people. And so.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
I love that. There was something else I was going to say, but it slipped my mind.
What?
I don't know. Dang it. I don't know. You were talking about like just the detachment and I don't know. Maybe it'll come back to me.
It'll come to you. So yeah, anything more you want to say around that?
I don't know.
Again, this is one of those topics that there's just so many.
There's so many directions,
nuances, and directions and details around it that we could go into. You have some growth mindset tips. I do, and I'm trying to think. Just with coupleship, it's just hard. Coupleship is just really hard to navigate. So when it comes to like finding who you are and being an individual, there's this quote that I found. It's really freaking good. I'm going to read it. Self-development is a continuous journey of trial and error. The process will test your strengths, reveal your weaknesses, and empower you to put yourself, finally, first. Keep going no matter what. Dive deep into answering the questions that you refuse to, no matter how much the answer hurts. You deserve respect and understanding in the process of self-discovery. That's by Tiffany. I can't pronounce her last name. I think it's Moulet. Man, that is so freaking good. Just the last line in particular really resonates with me, that you deserve respect and understanding in the process of self-discovery. So like I was saying earlier, I thought I had to find this externally. I thought in order to feel respect, that was outward. I had to feel respected by others. Understanding, it was like my life goal to fit in and to be understood by others. And oh man, I can remember the process of moving through that and really grieving that and trying to let that belief go. And now I know I deserve self-respect and I deserve self-understanding because I have discovered that, and I am a human being, and those are, to me, those are basic human desires and needs. And I never had any idea that I could do that for myself. Like what? And I think that, a lot of people that I spend time with, that's the hardest thing, is having self-respect. And there's many things that tie into that, but one huge thing for me is like the people pleasing. And I think that circles back around to relationship and the codependency of, if I am in my people pleasing mindset, then I become what I perceive my husband wants me to be. And I am not living from an authentic place. And authenticity is making your insides match your outsides, or vice versa. And I used to think I was a really authentic person. Like I based my entire life goal on seeking out authenticity in others, which, shocker, that's external. When meanwhile, I was conforming to pretty much anything anybody needed me to be, or anything anybody needed me to do. Because we all long deep for acceptance and belonging.
Yep. Belonging and acceptance, and that ties into some core things for me, some core traumas and hurts. And it's through my self-growth that I know that, and that I know those key places, and I'm able to have self-awareness. And it can be something real simple, like, do you want to go to this restaurant somewhere that I really don't want to go because I really don't want that food because I'm wanting to eat clean? And I'm like, oh, just forget it. Whatever. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's great. And so then I'm like, yeah, I'm excited. Like, that is not authenticity. And that's a really, really like small example, but authenticity would be, hey, you know what? I'm so glad that that's what you want. And if you want to do that, great for yourself. Like, you know, there's negotiations that can come in there, but this is what I want. And also not explaining why. It's a whole nother topic of feeling, you know, that need because of personal people pleasing to explain myself and explain like, okay, if I can't go to something, like even if I'm texting, I'll be like, no, and this is why. And I'm like, well, because I have this going on and this going on and this going on, because I am trying to control the other person's feelings because I don't want them to be mad and I don't want to experience rejection. Like it's actually very selfish. It's a very like self-centered lens to operate from.
Children explain. Adults
state.
Announce. You always butcher that. Children explain, adults announce.
Yeah, announce or state. It could be either. You don't like that? Chad's shaking his head no.
State doesn't flow as well.
That's how I first heard it, and it resonates with me. And anyway, so I think that's kind of where that's my 2 cents. And even in marriage, and I mean, it's real murky. It is really murky to comb all of that out. And when you're affecting another person, it's just really hard. It's just really, really hard. I wanted to say I've heard it said many, many different ways, but I've heard it said marriage is a mirror. Marriage is therapy, like inducing, or marriage can be therapeutic because your partner is your mirror. And it is, you know, marriage, and I keep saying marriage, but I really should be just coupleship in general, like your partner can be your mirror, and that is a beautiful opportunity to fine tune yourself and your weaknesses, because y'all, we can be single all day or be alone all day or whatever. And yes, there's a lot that can come out of that, but it's in relationship where our true selves come out. It's in relationship where we have conflict and negotiating and opinions. I mean, we just come out, and it's, for me, it's been this experience of looking at myself. It's a beautiful opportunity to fine tune who I am as a human being, and not look to you or the other person to fulfill or to satisfy these longings. Like that's not the place for it. We grow. I think we grow substantially in relationships, and I think that we were that was created to be that way.
Yeah. I just had a thought on how, just an example of how far we have come in our 7 years of marriage. Our first couple of years of marriage, like our codependency was so dysfunctional and so intense that literally like neither of us could really even hang out with other people. I mean, we would have such a hard time with literally being okay with our spouse hanging out with anyone other than you. Like that's how dysfunctional our codependency was. And now today, like, I mean, my wife, if I'm in a rough emotional place, she'll look at me and be like, you need to leave the house and go with friends. You need to go spend time with friends, please. You know,
to make a phone
like, please
call.
go, because we always come back from that rejuvenated and refreshed. And
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, there's so much we could talk around this topic. I do want to also mention, this isn't all that we're talking about isn't just for people who are married. Obviously, it also can be for people in serious relationships.
Family relationships.
Yes. 100%. We had a call-in question on one of our episodes from a guy asking, I think his question was based around, he was a single guy, and he asked how do I prepare for my wife or whatnot. And I remember my answer being to that guy is don't. don't prepare for your wife. Like you need to prepare for you. You need to focus on you and do the work for you, and start that now without the mindset of your future wife. Your future wife will benefit the reaps of the work and then this hard stuff you go through in that work.
Right.
But if your mindset is already in a place of, what can I do for my future wife?
Right.
Like that my advice to that is don't, work on you and only be focused on that.
And in addition, to add on to that, it would be like what we're talking about now, like fine tune your relationship skills in other relationships, whether that's with friends, family, or intimate partners. Like, yes, like you have the ability to, we all need these people communication skills. So I would add to that too and say you can, like you are probably already doing that in your relationships with people that you have in your life now.
Yeah. Learn to have a voice. A lot of us out there, myself included, struggle with feeling like I can be heard and have a voice. Yeah.
That you deserve to have
I deserve to have a voice. That I deserve to have a voice, that I deserve it to even be heard, or that I bring any value, to speak things, or, so that's been a big battle for me, and which of course goes into every relationship I have. And of course my marriage, where, it's been hard for me to have a voice, and to be heard and speak things out, Yeah. And that's been a big part of my work, and I'm getting much better at it, but I'm only aware of that because of the deep, intensive work I've done. Right. Because I have spent these years diving into, childhood traumas and childhood wounds, and having with experts in this kind of thing, and therapists who have uncovered that and helped me put dots together from my history, of different traumas, and about how the story I've told myself throughout my whole life is that I'm not worthy, and I'm not worthy to be heard, and I don't bring value. And that's my motto to this day. Now it's my motto. I walk into a room with a bunch of guys who, even if it's work related, I'll walk into a room with a bunch of guys and can instantly feel like I have nothing to offer, with all these really creative, really smart, talented guys. Right. And my motto every time that I go into those rooms is just, I tell myself over and over again, you bring value to this room. Like you have something to offer. And I do. I have a lot to offer, but it's so easy for me to immediately walk into those rooms and just immediately have the self-doubt and feel like I'm not worthy to be there, be a part.
There's a quote that I saw, I think it was with Joanna Gaines. I adore Joanna Gaines, if some of you don't know that. But anyways, the quote was, "The world needs who you are today. The world needs you wherever you're at today." Like, I fully believe that each of us has a part to play. And we bring value. You bring value to whatever circumstance, situation, whether that's work or family or relationships or even alone time, relationships with God. You are valued. You bring value. And I just keep saying that and want to push that because it's just so common because we compare our insides to other people's outsides, and it is very easy to already feel like I'm already behind. I'm already a deficit in each situation. And that's just not true.
Yeah. Learning that, that not everybody is going to like you, and that is okay, is a huge thing. And being completely okay with that. Right. Like there might be a room of people or a certain type of friends that you want to be friends with and be close with. And so what you naturally end up doing is conforming to whatever you think will make you fit in with that person. And if you're losing yourself in the process, you'll lose yourself. And then in time, you won't know who you are anymore because you're such a different person everywhere else, which I'm speaking from experience. My whole life, I'm a chameleon. Like I've been able to adapt in any situation and fit in, but I'm fitting in a way it's not who I am at all. And then you lose who you are. Right. And that very much results in I mean, in every relationship you have going forward. And now in recovery, we are okay with people not liking us. Like, it's okay if they don't like who I am, but I'm going to be who I am regardless.
Right.
And you'll lose friends along the way.
And you'll gain friends.
They're not your people. Yeah, those aren't your
Right,
people.
right.
And even if you can't see it, if you can't even imagine the fact that there are people out there that can be your people, there are people out there that are your people.
For a long time, I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there was a time where kind of when all our recovery stuff kind of happened, like we've lost friends along the way. And this is before we were really involved in the program.
Right.
And, have built a strong community with people in our programs. And I mean, we were just like, wow, we felt lonely together as a couple. Like, we didn't feel like we had any friends because we lost the friends we had because they just didn't get it.
Yeah.
They didn't understand what was going on because they've never been through it. And so it just caused a lot of like, wow, these are not safe people, and that happened, a few times. And but now, I mean, we have formed friendships with people that we would never have it another way. Like we are 100% who we are with them, and they love us for that.
Yeah.
And you feel, and the result is you actually feel connected and you feel accepted, even when there's people out there who don't like you, and there's people out there who are probably talking bad about you behind your back, and you're not
human nature.
You're not who they say you are. You know, like, it's okay. Let them, and being okay with it. Much easier said than done. It's still very easy to care, of course, and we very much do care. But
there's something I heard. Very early on was what other people think of you is none of your business.
Yes, it's good.
And that rocked my world.
Yeah.
I remember the first time.
What
I
do you
heard
mean
that.
It's not my business?
I'm like, well, what do you mean? Isn't that my responsibility to control how other people think of me? No, it's not. It's none of my business. Anyways, that's been the best. That comes up probably daily for me.
Me too.
So anyways, I just wanted to throw that in.
Yeah.
I wanted to throw in some growth tips.
Do it.
So for we're talking about, you can't show up to really any relationship with your glass half full. And so there's some things that are really, 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 really great. Okay. So they're growth mindset tips, and I'm going to try to read them slowly. Learn to try new things. Easier said than done. Very scary. Focus on progress. Be ready and willing to ask for help. You can get through anything.
I want to go back. Be ready and willing to ask for help.
Yep.
Speaking to you men.
And women.
I know women, but more so men. I mean, men and their egos of asking for help. It is a not manly thing. I know. I mean, I'm not saying it's one way, but it is in men's, like, men just feel like to be a man, you can't ask for help. Like, you can do it on your own, and
You're right.
you can't. I mean, you have to get people involved, and you have to ask for help.
It's the patriarch.
It's hard.
View
The ego does not want to ask for help. It wants to do everything on its own. Continue.
Yes. You can get through anything. I think I already read that. Which is, I mean, it may not feel it like that. I feel like that could feel minimizing or belittling. And yes, just trust me. I feel like anybody can get through anything. And to not
like it, but you can't.
Right. And in the moment, it definitely doesn't feel like that. And I'm speaking to myself.
Oh, yeah.
Because things feel bigger. And then on the other side of it, you're like, okay, like, I got through it and I'm still alive. And that's where we grow. Anyways, focus on self and not others. Can I write that on a poster and hang it in our house for me to read every single day?
You can.
That is the hardest thing. Easier to look outward than inward because it's scary. Anyways, keep learning. Self-doubt and fear can kill dreams. It's okay to not know and to not have all the answers. It is okay to say, I don't know. Never thought that was okay. That was a big learning curve for me. And lastly, skill comes from practice. And that is with any skill. That is with empathy. That is with occupational skills, skills at work. I mean, professional skills is what I'm trying to say. That comes with communication, something that, you know, I'm a talker. I've talked my whole life, and it wasn't until a few years ago that I realized I actually have no idea how to communicate effectively, and I'm still learning.
Well, that for me, is even just talking marriage and communication in marriage was one of the biggest things that my ego would still fight to like the end, basically. Like, I mean, we would show up at couples counseling, and he would give us these literal outlines of communication, like a healthy communication outline or conflict outline or whatever. And I remember, I mean, I just had such a hard time with that because I'm just like, I'm not going to go off a script when I'm communicating to my wife. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, that was all my ego talking. Like, I don't need a script. I'm not going to be a robot and read from this thing, you know, and fill in the blanks. And, but
it's still hard to do.
No, it's still hard to do.
It's still hard to walk over to our fridge and to use it.
But it's practice. Like, it's not meant to like be something that we're going to forever pull out and read every time we have a conflict. But we're practicing it. We still need to do better, but we're working on practicing it so that it can become just second nature to us.
Progress, not perfection.
Progress, not perfection.
Anyways, I think just to wrap it up, I hope those were helpful. Those were really helpful for me. But to wrap it all up, my hope from, you know, this podcast and to who's ever listening to the song and just taking in the words to the song, that the words will be true, even in our own walk through marriage and I guess life in general. But to also remember that none of us are promised tomorrow or a future with or without our significant others. Life can be very tragic, and the future is unknown to each of us, which is very scary, and it's real.
Yeah.
So.
Can't help but want to belt out singing, "Into the unknown, into the unknown." Okay, I'm done.
You're funny.
That was great. Good job.
You too.
Thank you guys for listening. If you've made it this far,
yeah,
we threw out a lot of stuff.
We did. Wow, we talked about a lot today. It was dense.
It was. I mean, and honestly, we could do that for hours.
We
could just keep going down rabbit hole after rabbit hole.
I'm kind of hungry. I need to eat.
And we're gonna stop because no one's gonna listen to a 4-hour, podcast episode. Right. Although the Joe Rogan show changes that theory. Anywho. That's it for this week, guys. Be on the lookout for our Patreon page.
Hey.
We'll make announcements about that on Facebook and
all
our socials when that happens.
Yes, thank you for
if you don't follow us on our socials, please do. Finding us at findingusband is our Instagram, correct?
Yes.
At findingusband is our Instagram, and you'll find Finding Us on Facebook, and we have a YouTube channel, and all these things also have my solo stuff on them as well. The YouTube channel has my solo stuff on it as well. It has our podcast, it has our music videos, all the above are on there. So check that out.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. We love you all.
Thank you.
We will talk to you guys very soon. This has been Finding Us the Podcast
with Chad and Fallon.